Chapter 1. Dakota. My eyes are heavy, and the pillow my head is resting on is hard. My hands feel as if something is holding them down. I glance around the room. I don't recognize anything. Not the small bed with crisp white sheets binding me where I can't move my feet. I try to kick at the tucked sheets, but my legs feel as if they are weighted down by dumbbells. This room is empty. Where is my bookcase which holds all my books? Where are my books? I need to read. Reading makes me happy. Reading takes me away into someone's mind besides my own. I feel different when I'm reading. I feel alive, and I don't worry about much. I don't think about the students who look at me as if I'm a freak for wanting to make A's. This can't be school. I have to go to school, I tell myself. How am I to keep my grade point average up if I'm lying here, doing nothing and not studying? I'm not at home. I'm not in school. Where am I? And what am I doing in a room that looks like a jail cell? Not that I've ever seen the inside of one, but this could be one. Where are my parents? I know that I have parents, and why would they leave me here? This doesn't make sense. I shut my eyes tight, hoping when I open them, this will have been a dream. I take a long breath and open them, and nothing has changed except I hear a noise coming from somewhere and I don't know exactly where. It sounds like someone is stirring. Maybe now I can get some answers. I hear the shuffling of feet. However, I don't have the energy to raise up and see who's coming close to me. All I remember was taking a shower in my restroom and waking up inside of this room. I yell because I need answers, but my voice is fragile and fades with each word. Where am I? Where are my parents? I know you're there. Say something. You're in a hospital in the mental ward. It's the voice of a young man. What am I doing in this place? I ask. You must have tried to kill yourself, the voice said. The sound is coming from somewhere in the next cell or room across from mine. But I wouldn't do that, would I? I try hard to remember things and I can't. At this point, I can't remember my name. How the fuck should I know, the boy says to me. It jars me, and I try to sit up and see who's using that gross word. I'm not a doctor. I'm here just like you. All I know about this place is that this is where they bring you if you tried to kill yourself. I tried the same thing but it didn't work, and here I am. Maybe I'm dead, I thought. I don't know if I want to be around this boy. He sounds so cynical. But this place doesn't look like anything I've heard or read about if I were dead. I can't move, I said to the young critical voice coming from the other room. They probably heavily medicated you. The nurses will be in shortly to check on you, give you some food, watch you take a shower, and then they'll send you to be tested and then to counseling and then more pills until. Listening to him is painful, so I interrupt him because I can't stand to hear more. I'm still not convinced that I'm where he says I am. Then can I go home? How the fuck should I know? Like I said, I'm no doctor. The boy's voice cracked with a tone of annoyance. The kind of voice you hear when teenage boys are turning into men. One minute their voices are high, and the next day you talk to them it has deepened. How long have you been in here? I ask him. A few moments of silence pass as if he's trying to remember but gives up and says, I don't know. I hear the sadness in his voice, and I wonder if that's the fate that's waiting for me. Being in an institution long enough to forget the days and months, and maybe years. How old are you and what's your name? I ask him, because I need more information to determine if this is real or in my imagination. I'm 18. My name is Elliot. That's all I can tell you. They don't want us to discuss our personal information with anyone. As I listened, I thought about how old I am. I'm 18 and I will soon be 19. I will graduate from high school if I can get back there. I'm his age, maybe older, but my mother kept me back because she said I wasn't matured enough to start school, and she couldn't bear to have me leave her so early. She homeschooled me and then sent me to elementary school. I remember some things now. I wondered how many more teens were in this place. Elliot, do you always follow the staff's and doctor's rules? No. I don't follow anyone's rules. Maybe that's why I'm still in here. But it's more than that, isn't it? Yeah. I guess so. I tried to kill myself 3 times before and didn't succeed. I think they put me in this facility to prevent me from doing that again. But if you want to do something, you'll find a way. His voice trails off as if he's still considering that option. What was wrong with you? I asked him. Don't you mean what is wrong with me? He pauses and then says, nothing is wrong with me, as if he's not sure if there's something wrong with him. Except, he breathes out hard and pauses again as if he's thinking about why he should reveal to a stranger his innermost secret. I made the mistake of telling my parents that I was gay and that I was seeing visions at night. I said people were coming into my room at night. Big mistake. They took me for counseling. Oh, I said. My voice rises. I'm not gay, I just wanted to get their attention. The gay part didn't upset them, they took that calm enough. It was when I said I was seeing vampires that my parents freaked out. The vampires were coming into my room at night and sucking my blood, especially that female. I can't remember her name, but she was beautiful and sexy. For a teenage boy, you know how that can be. No, I don't know, I said to him because honestly I didn't have a clue. His voice conversational, as if he believed what he was saying, and that I would understand, since I was in the same place, maybe for the same reason. But we weren't the same. I didn't try to kill myself because of vampires. And everyone who's sane knows that there are no such things as vampires. That convinced me that I wasn't dead, and there is no way I should be here in this hospital, at least not in a mental ward. I can see how that would unnerve them because there are no vampires, I said to Elliot. I was trying to do what his parents and counselors couldn't accomplish. Teenagers see things different from parents and adults. Our brains function differently, and maybe if I told him that he would believe me, but he appeared confident that they did exist. That's what you think. He gave a small laugh. They're all over. Everywhere. Even here in this hospital, and I want to get out of this place before they kill me. I thought you wanted to die? I did. But when I was tested for schizophrenia and other things, the doctors said nothing was wrong with me, and they sent me home, and that's when I realized that I wasn't nuts and what was coming into my room at night was real. I tried to kill myself once more because I don't want to become one of those undead things. I would rather die. There was a brief silence. And you, what's your story? What's your name and how old are you? My name's Dakota and I'm 18 just like you. A senior in high school. But I'm turning 19 in June. Mother held me back because of maturity issues, and I don't have a story. I can't remember any more than that, now. Maybe it will come back to me, but I don't remember trying to commit suicide. When we get out of here, how about you and me hooking up and go to the movies or something? Elliot said. But you can't tell the counselors, because we aren't allowed to make connections in or out of this place. Don't tell your parents either. And that's when I remembered that I didn't tell my parents what was going on with me. I didn't eat much or sleep well. Now I vaguely remember taking my mother's meds and waking up in here. I wasn't trying to kill myself, I was trying to sleep at night, I said. And like Elliot, I saw things too. There were some things familiar between us. People coming into my room at night and standing over my bed. I thought it was hallucinations because I couldn't sleep. Did you have bruises on your body, and were you sleeping at night? I asked Elliot. How could I sleep? I had bruises and cuts like I was cutting myself. I wasn't cutting myself, the vampires were doing that to extract blood, and then sucking it from my arms, legs, and wrists. When the doctors examined me, I tried to tell them that I didn't cut myself, that the vampires did that. If I were Elliot's parents, and he told me that far-fetched story, I would probably send him away too. I could see why he was here, but me, I didn't understand yet. Looking up at the lights, I began to feel the medication wear off and feelings coming back to my hands and legs. And my memory returning slowly, with the help of Elliot talking to me. I remember something now, Elliot. I think the same things were happening to me, but I had small bruises on my neck, but there was this handsome man who came to me at night. I thought it was a sexual dream. You know the kind when you are teens, and you don't know what's happening to your body. He told me that I had to do something, and I can't remember what it was. Don't worry, after you get out of here and stop with the medication, everything will be clear. It happened to me. Because I hid my meds and didn't take them, I saw what was making a nightly visit. That time I caught the female vampire cutting me, and I ran to wake my parents, and they dismissed my accusations as delusions brought on by the medicine. I told them that I wasn't taking my medication. And that's when my mother began hiding the knives and razor blades. Isn't that stupid? If I wanted to get a knife or razor, I could easily get one without them knowing. All I wanted was for them to believe me and take me away where the vampires couldn't find me. When I get out of here, and if you're out, we're going to find those vampires, and we're going to kill them, I said to Elliot. It was the only thing I could think of to say, to calm him. I didn't know why I said that, but it sounds as if it was something I could do. Not only was Elliot being tormented by vampires, I realized that I was being plagued by them as well, to the point where we were willing to kill ourselves to get away from them. I had finally found a reason or excuse for my torment. But in the back of my mind, I thought the thing about vampires was an outrageous idea, but I had bought into it with the help of Elliot. He appeared convinced that they existed. Maybe we were both mental cases. It became clear to me, and then I thought, we really have to kill some vampires if we are to live. Whether it was true or not, we had to rid ourselves of our demons, whether real or imaginary. There was a long silence between us. I sat up in bed, put my feet on the cold hard floor and crouched down, and rested my back against the bed and wrapped my arms around my legs. What school do you attend? I asked Elliot. Holy Cross. That's my school. Holy shit. Imagine that, I said and placed my hands over my mouth. There are a few more students here from Holy Cross. They're seeing things at night, and no one believes them. And they're trying to commit suicide just like us, and probably for the same reasons, but they don't talk to me. They're in another ward. You and I are the only ones here for some reason. Those kids in the other wards follow the rules. Sometimes you have to break the rules to survive. You've made me want to survive, Dakota. Do you think we can really kill those vampires? I didn't have any answers yet. Elliot held on to my words as if they were gold. Yes. Do everything your parents and the doctors ask of you, and I'll see you at school. It's our last year. We can meet up and make plans. And I laid back and relaxed and waited. My blood had been tainted with the pills I had taken. Maybe that's why the vampires left me alone, I soon realized. Take your meds. That will keep the vampires at bay. They want pure blood. How do you know all these things? I hunched my shoulders. I don't know. I just know. I think someone is coming. I have to go and talk to the counselor. Today my parents are coming for a visit, and I have to convince them that I'm not going to try to do anything to harm myself. Wish me luck. Hearing a key open his door, I lay in that bed and tried to figure out how I knew about the medicine in the blood. Then remembered that I read about how medication which when taken can cause different reactions in some people, and because of my small, undernourished body, medicine will enter the bloodstream quickly. Chapter 2. When I finally returned home after a 2 weeks rest, I was behind in my classes, and my perfect grades became contaminated with 2 Bs. I had no problem with that because I brought that on myself, and I had only myself to blame. Elliot must have gotten out, because I didn't hear from him after a few days. I missed him for some reason. And that handsome vampire stopped making his nightly visit to my bedside, because at the hospital I was heavily medicated. The vampire or whatever that was would come to my home if he had nefarious intentions for me. With my visit to the mental hospital and the counselor, the doctors had me medicated for weeks with their prescriptions. I noticed that there were no more visits, and somehow my theories were right. However, correlation doesn't mean causation. Taking medication had nothing to do with the vampires leaving me alone. But I was happy I could get to sleep at night, and pleased for the rest I got from the medicine prescribed, but I wished the doctors were on the same page. One doctor recommended medication, and another suggested that medicine wasn't necessary. So I took my well-being into my hands. After an appointment with the counselor with me talking about vampires, she gave me 2 different medications. I would take the meds before going to sleep, and like that, I would be knocked out, and my bloodstream would be filled with toxins that appeared to ward off the vampire and would work like garlic. Some books I read said garlic is good. Maybe I should have worn a necklace of garlic, but the stink would have made me nauseous, and I'm sure that would keep me awake. So I stuck with the meds, which had me walking around calm like someone who had a permanent grin on their face. My mother scurried around the house checking the bathroom whenever I took a shower, and hiding sharp objects, as if she thought that would deter me from doing something stupid like going into her medicine cabinet. She would hide the medication, and I had to ask her for it and a knife whenever I ate a juicy steak. Then she would watch me, as if I was about to jump out of a window at any moment or find some other way to end it all, but that wasn't what I was trying to do. Not like Elliot. I wanted a good night's rest. I tried to explain that to my mother, but she insisted that I see a doctor who could help me with my delusional sightings of vampires. She found me in the bathroom lying cold that night, spread out on the floor, with earbuds listening to my favorite song. After they rushed me to the hospital, I explained to my mother and father that I just needed some sleep, but she didn't believe me, and she and my father rushed me to another hospital. I hadn't taken enough pills to kill myself, which should have told her it was an accident. She blamed herself for my foolhardiness and lack of judgment. It was an extreme way to solve a simple problem of sleeping. The elimination of a vampire would be a more difficult matter to resolve. While at the hospital, they recommended me to a therapist, and after I explained that it was people coming to my room and walking around my bed who kept me up at nights, the counselor recommended a mental hospital, and it was there I got the best sleep of my life. After my mother felt she had done the right thing for me, and with her feeling guilty about who knows what, she brought me home. I tried to explain to her that it wasn't her fault, but mine. I could have confided in her earlier about my lack of sleep and worries over getting a scholarship to go to college in California, but I chose not to. Just like I chose not to mention the vampires. The counselor must have broken her oath and revealed that. It was a mild, overcast day when I dressed, and my mother drove me to school that morning. She had spoken about buying me a car, but seeing a psychiatrist put that on hold. It had something to do with not having that covered on their insurance. After 2 weeks away from school, I felt different and happy to get school over with and get on with my life. But the moment I stepped out of the car and walked into school, all eyes were following me. Teachers and students whispering to each other about what had happened. You tell one friend and that's it, the whole world knows. I stiffened up and went on with my day. Finding that I had to defend myself from class to class, I looked them in the eyes and said, "What?" This went on for most of the day, but as the day came to a close, hardly anyone noticed me. I was determined to stay in school and face everyone, and when I graduated, I was going to California, and I didn't have to look at my classmates or this small town anymore and have them whisper behind my back and look at me as if I committed murder. On my way to my advanced chemistry class with my head down and clutching my books, I ran into Elliot. I didn't recognize him. His straight blonde hair had grown long, and he had a small goatee. You could hardly see the goatee because of the fine blonde hair on his chin. With his light hair and blue eyes, he looked at you, and you could swear he was reading your mind. With Elliot's rail-thin body and pale skin, he had the appearance of a dead man walking. His pants fell from his small waist, and he had to hold on to them to keep them from falling off. "Can't you put a belt on those pants?" He had probably heard that before because he turned with his forehead furrowed and a piercing stare. Our eyes met. "Oh shit. It's you, Dakota." His voice light and warm. "I thought I would never see you again," he said to me. We hugged long as some students passed staring at us. We were indeed an odd couple. I was the class genius. He was the weirdest boy in the school, who had a laugh that was nasal and loud. That is whenever he laughed, and that wasn't often. I had heard about him before I met him at the hospital, never thinking that I could befriend him at any time at Holy Cross. It was a small school, but the gossip was, and I never thought I would find myself embracing this strange boy, but I was more than happy to see him. "Do you have any more classes?" Elliot asked after breaking our embrace. "No. I'm finished for the day." "Good, because we need to talk," he said. He took my arm and led me through the hall, and through a swarm of talkative girls who turned to watch us stroll out of the school chatting and laughing together. He held my hand and led me out the door, down the steps and outside. Then he stopped at the entrance to the parking lot. "Do you know why those students are watching us?" "Maybe because they heard we were in a mental hospital?" I said, as we wandered into the parking lot. "No one knows about you, but the entire school knows that I've been there more times than I can count." I stopped. "I think you're wrong. I told my friend Paige, and she's a known gossip. She can't help herself." Looking around, I asked, "Do you have a car?" "Yes. It's over there." He pointed to a new black Jeep Wrangler, and we hurried over to it to get out of the drizzling rain. He hit a button and opened the door, and we climbed in. "Like your car. It still has that new smell," I said as I dropped my backpack in the rear. "Where are we going?" The car started up, and he roared out of the student parking lot. "To the park. We can talk there without anyone hearing us or pointing at us." "So distracting," Elliot said and flashed me a smile. He needed to smile more. It's engaging with his straight polished teeth. But now wasn't the time to tell him that. As he drove, I watched at him. He looked confident and mature. It suited him. "I'm going to get in a run after I call my mother," I said to Elliot as my eyes roamed his face and then his arms. He had on a short t-shirt covering his wiry arms where I could see the razor marks. He wore them like a badge of courage. "Does your mother monitor you?" Elliot asked. I shrugged in his direction and said, "A tracker on my phone, but I disable it if I want. I don't want to worry her, and besides, I have nowhere to go. Only one friend, Paige." He glanced over to me. "And now you." I scanned his face to see if he agreed. He said nothing but smiled. "After we jog, I need to show you something." I glanced at him as he turned out of the parking lot and headed for the nearest park. He watched the road intently ahead, and he never turned his face in my direction because of the rain. I didn't know he was such a careful driver. It went against the notion of him wanting to die. The overcast sky makes me nervous. I notice that when it rains and gets dark early, I get a visit at night from my female vampire. He said that as if it's a family pet. A dog that wanders into his room at night and crawls into bed beside him. I wondered if he has a dog. Maybe not. I don't think he can have a dog and a vampire at the same time. "That's strange because my vampire is a man," I said to Elliot. "My vampire is a female, and she looks just like my therapist. When my parents are in the sessions with me, I tell them it's her. She's the one who visits me at night. Then everyone laughs. Everyone but me. That's how it's been going. Me telling them she's a vampire, the therapist laughs and suggests another stay in the hospital for another 6 months, and I come out paler and smaller and sickly than before I went in. But I'm turning 18 in 2 days, and I can stop going to that therapist, and they can't make me. Elliot turned and glanced in my direction, because now it's not raining as hard. The sound of wipers scrubbing the window is all that we hear through the silence in the car. He soon glances over at me as I watch the rain falling lightly. The sky darkened ahead, as if a sign of what's to come. How's it going with you? Good. I'm good, I say. You don't sound like it's all that great. I turn and watch out at the homes as we pass, and wonder what's going on in that neighborhood behind those walls. The wipers stop and start up again, responding to small drops of rainwater on the glass. Turning to Elliot, I admit something I didn't divulge before. The only thing I had was my dreams, and that vampire who visited me in my dreams. It wasn't a dream. His voice is low and dangerous. His forehead furrows. I think I liked the idea of him in my room. For some reason, I felt safe with him. He never tried to harm me. He just stood and looked down at me. But he doesn't come anymore since I've been taking my medication. I was thinking of stopping it altogether. Elliot came to an abrupt stop at a stop sign. You can't do that. Horns began blaring. He started the car up and pulled into the park and stopped. It was you who figured out that we had to take the meds to keep them at bay. So don't go and do something dumb. We're in this together now. I agreed and opened the door and hopped out of the car. I'll be back in a minute. It won't take long. Are you coming? I said, looking behind me. Only if we walk. I'm losing weight fast and I know what's causing it, but I don't know what to do. Are you taking your medication? I couldn't stand to walk around like a zombie, so I cut down on the strong meds. I turned to him. That's the only thing that will stop those vampires. You have to take the full dose. Since no one believes us, we have to save ourselves. Start retaking your meds as prescribed, and when we get back to the car, I have a bottle of holy water in my backpack. You can have it. I can get more. Elliot smiled at me. Do you think the holy water will work? I nodded yes to him. You really are serious about this? So you believe me? Yes, but I needed someone to remind me that this is serious, and we have to remind each other what's at stake. Our lives. We haven't started to live our lives. I want to fall in love and grow old with the man I love. We ambled around the jogging track in the rain, and ended up back where the car was parked. We clambered into the Jeep and drove off to get a pizza. After buying the pizza, we took it to Elliot's house. Where are your parents? I asked, looking around as he drove into his 5-car garage that held more than 4 cars. I had never seen an array of expensive cars before. There were 2 BMWs and 2 sporty Mercedes and exotic cars I didn't know existed. He pulled his Wrangler next to a classic black BMW. They're away. I live in the basement, but when I turn 18, I'm getting my own place away from Seattle and away from here. I don't know where I'm going, just far enough away. I'll probably enroll in college in California, he said as we climbed the stairs and then entered into the mudroom only to descend the stairs to a large room. This is where I hide out. He dropped the pizza on the countertop. I want to go to California, I said, sitting down at the bar and looking around at the family pictures and the large television hanging on the wall. Why would you want to leave here? Your basement is almost as large as my parents' home. My parents are always going to Europe and leaving me alone, and as you can see, I don't have any friends. Well, maybe one. I give him a closed smile in agreement. Even though they think you will kill yourself, and find you dead when they return? I wish my parents would go someplace. They smother me with their love. I think they hope I do something quick, because they get tired of picking me up from the mental ward. They said they were tired of their vacations being interrupted by my stunts. I tried talking to them, but no one believes there's a female vampire who visits me at night and cuts my arms and legs and sucks my blood. Look at me, Dakota. He turns his arms over and his wrists are facing me, and some marks look like teeth imprints hidden deep inside the healed scars from a razor. Do you think I want to look like this? And he raises his shirt and pants leg. The bite marks are noticeable, and there's a line in the back of his legs. Not knowing Elliot well enough, I couldn't give him an answer. I picked up a slice of pepperoni pizza and ate it. Drank a Mountain Dew and relaxed and talked with Elliot. I've seen you before that day in the ward. Where? At our prom. Did you go alone? I asked him. Pretty much. I stood in the corner watching everyone laughing and dancing. You were the one, I said, pointing my finger at him. He shook his head, saying yes. You were the students and my friend Paige were discussing. I had forgotten that. I stared at him, seeing him for the first time. What did they say about me? That you were weird. They said much more, but I didn't want to ruin the night by telling him all that negative shit some teenagers discuss when their targets aren't listening. I didn't want to wipe that warm smile from his sad face. It was the first time I had a chance to laugh about anything too. Afterward, he drove me home, and that night I fell into a deep, restful sleep. The world could have come to an end, and I didn't give a care.